Hey there, how you doing? Charlie Winters here with horse racing selections for Saturday the 15th of July. But first, a quick recap on Friday's results. Well, we started very well with, I believe, a 9-1 winner. The second horse ran disappointing. It was messed around with during, you can't afford in rain softened ground to start switching, running behind horses, and it needs to be kept simple. The final horse was Mr. Curiosity. We took 25-1. There was like a rule for, but unfortunately, I think it was a very slight losing day. Um, as I said, 9-1 winner and actual 25-1 place. So we move forward onto Saturday. I tell you what, I don't want to sound a bit chavvy, but I'm absolutely buzzing with Saturday's fixtures because there's well, not a unique twist, but the massive twist on it. The ground has completely changed, and it is still getting slower by the minute. So on Friday, it was around about a 90% chance of heavy rain. Well, I don't know if you was watching the racing. Well, pretty much all the courses got that. On Saturday, there's pretty much 80 to 90% in most places of showers. So whatever the ground is now, it's not going to get any quicker. I think it could be really tough going tomorrow. I'm in Nottinghamshire and it's been pretty much raining well, from dinner time onwards. Bearing in mind, there's no Nottinghamshire racing tomorrow. But just to give you a quick heads up, I have been looking at the radar, and yeah, at times there's showers, but heavy showers, and I think it's only going to get worse, if anything, in my opinion. So what I've gone for is there are a number of horses that ran at Ascot last time that was drawn badly but ran okay, and I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt this time, and I think they've got chances. There are horses where I think there's going to be a draw bias tomorrow, where in fact they even ran okay when the bias was against them at Ascot, but it's for them tomorrow on Saturday. There's a number of horses where I think they are very well handicapped and they'll run better. There are a number of horses where I think they'll run better because of they will prefer the softer ground. And three horses I really like the look of, which I shall tell you more about them when we get to it. One has recently changed trainer that is really well handicapped. The second one is a horse that was described last time as on its day it can win most sprint races, but it's a bit of an old boy, a bit of a monkey. So I shall talk you through them. Well, I'm not going to talk you through them. I'm going to talk you through the horses. But when I get to the particular ones that I'm really keen on, I shall mention them. So anyway, the first bet is at Ascot, and it's 8 pence each way. Lucky 63 comes to £10, 8 pence. The first selection is, bear in mind, I took all the prices just so you can see what price they roughly are. I think a lot of these prices could get bigger. So it's an 8 pence each way, lucky 63. Kings Lynn at 8-1 in the 145 at Ascot, paying 6 places instead of 4. Massively inconvenienced by the draw when drawn 2 at Ascot. It's now got the best of the draw, I believe, by being drawn high. The second selection is Angel Blur at 5-1 in the 220 at Ascot, paying 4 places instead of 3. The third selection is Tides of War at 7-1 in the 330 at Ascot, paying 4 places instead of 3. The fourth selection is Jack Darcy at 14-1 in the 5-4, paying 4 places instead of 3. The fifth selection is One Morning at 25-1 in the 440 at Ascot, paying 5 places instead of 3. I think this horse has been messed around with. I believe it's got Sappy Osborne on board. It's got a cracking draw, and I think it's got every chance. The final selection in this bet is Farazi Lane at 13-2 in the 515 at Ascot, paying 4 places instead of 3. The next bet is at York. It's an 8 pence each way, lucky 63. And the first selection is one of the naps of the day, and it is What's the Story at 12-1 in the 2 o'clock at York. I believe it's first 3 places. The only unfortunate thing about this race, it's one of them where it's going to have his pants down because they decided, instead of making an extra place race, for it to be a money back special. I'm not interested in money back specials. I'm interested in extra places. This horse is extremely well handicapped. It can handle the ground, slower ground. That is. Sorry. Keith Dalglish has packed in now, and this horse has kept with the same owner, and they've transferred it to Richard Fahey. I think it's got a cracking chance tomorrow. You've seen what can happen when horses can change stable. Well, in my opinion, Keith Dalglish was okay, nothing more than that. Richard Fahey is a master improving horses, and I think he knows quite a lot about this horse already, in my opinion. And I think the fact that it's running at York with conditions to suit, it could be a surprise package at 12-1. The second selection is Queen Me at 11-2 in the 235 at York, paying 4 places instead of 3. This horse was targeted for Royal Ascot, ran in a Group 1, was keen but stayed on fairly well too. Well, this is a drop in class. Kevin Ryan's horses are gradually running into form, and I like the look of this horse. The third selection is one of the naps of the day. It is Faylag at 18-1 in the 3 at York, paying 7 places instead of 3. I believe this horse has been laid out for this race. It handles slow ground. This horse constantly, even last season when it was trained by someone else, constantly, Mark Walford, I think, Evan Willans. This horse constantly meets trouble, and I think sometimes it could be deliberate. What a thing to say. I think 18-1, Jim Goldie. I think it's Cam Hardy doing 8 stone 2. I think it's a decent jockey, very experienced around York, and I think it's got a cracking chance. The fourth selection is Scoops Ahoy at 6-1 in the 420 at York, paying 4 places instead of 3. This horse ran a bit disappointing last time, but it also had the worst of the draw. It was at Ascot, and it was a trailblazer. I think basically it was 150-1, so it wasn't expected. Basically, I just think it pointed its toe, had a real good go, and it was nowhere near good enough. And I think this is more its level, and it could put this last run behind it. It had also the worst of the draw. It was drawn. I think it had a low draw, but also finished 6th of 6th in that very small pipe that was running over there. I do believe it could be one of the last off the bridle and could make them all go in a relatively weak race at York. The next selection is Single at 17-2 in the 455 at York, paying 4 places instead of 3. If anybody's going to, well, I'll say if anybody, Mick Shannon did okay with this horse. This horse is basically, it's round about the same mark all the time. And I think it's a mark where it can be competitive. It's a poor race. It's a bit of a tricky race where a lot of horses come from behind, but there are some slow horses that come from behind that want the trip. Well, I think this has got some good tactical pace, and I think it's got a cracking chance. And finally for this bet, the nap of the entire day. It is Rathbone at 25-1 in the 530 at York, paying 6 places instead of 4. The Michael Harrington stable have got some very nice, well, I say very nice, it's got some half-decent handicappers that are competitive at a decent standard. I think Rathbone has been laid out for one of these types of races. This horse is fine at this course. It's fine on slow ground. It travelled well at Pontefract recently. Also, it was drawn 14. Basically, that's in the car park at Beverley. It was a competitive race, and I think it still came about 5th. I think it's got every chance. I think personally, they did okay down the middle at York today on the sprint course, but I think the lower numbers on Friday were allowed to get loose, and I'm talking about basically Copper Knight, which was down the middle, and also Matisse, another horse that was drawn low. Well, there was a horse that finished, I think it was 3rd or maybe just snuck 2nd in that race that was drawn high. And I think they've just basically ignored the low horses, or the 2 low horses, and the high numbers didn't really get into it. But I think if you run around centre, then drift over towards the high numbers, that's perfect. Well, Rathbone is a high number, and I think it's got every chance. It's got so many ticks in the right boxes. The next bet is another 8p each way, lucky 63, and this is all the big prices that I fancy from all different meetings mixed together. So it's an 8p each way, lucky 63. First selection is What the Story at 12 to 1 in the 2 o'clock at York. The second selection is Lady Alara at 20 to 1 in the 2:15 at Newmarket, paying 4 places instead of 3. The third selection is Phaelak at 18 to 1 in the 3 at York, paying 7 places instead of 4. The fourth selection is Gorak at 4 o'clock at Newmarket in the Bunbury Cup, paying 7 places instead of 4. The fifth selection is One Morning at 25 to 1 in the 4:40 at Ascot, paying 5 places instead of 3. The final selection in this bet is Rathbone at 25 to 1 in the 5:30 at York, paying 6 places instead of 4. Whew. The next bet is a 17p each way, lucky 31, and these are at Chester. So the first selection is Swift Tuttle at 7 to 1 in the 7 minutes past 2 race at Chester, paying 4 places instead of 3. The second selection is Divine Libra at 6 to 1 in the 3:17 at Chester, paying 4 places instead of 3. The third selection is Ermine at 10 to 1 in the 3:52 at Chester, paying 4 places instead of 3. The fourth selection is Mount Athos at 8 to 1 in the 4:27 at Chester, paying 4 places instead of 3. And the final selection for this bet is Stately Home at 11 to 2 in the 5 o'clock at Chester, paying 4 places instead of 3. And finally, at Newmarket, it's a 10p each way, lucky 31. Lady Alara at 20 to 1 in the 2:15 at Newmarket, paying 4 places instead of 3. The second selection is Highbank at 12 to 1 in the 2:50 at Newmarket, paying 5 places instead of 3. The third selection is Gorak in the 4 o'clock at 16 to 1 at Newmarket, paying 7 places instead of 4. The fourth selection is Vadream at 14 to 1 in the 4:35 at Newmarket in the July Cup. And finally, Reina Del Mar at 15 to 2 in the 5:10 at Newmarket, paying 4 places instead of 3. We're also hoping at Newmarket that Kieran Schumacher is the man of the moment, because several of those horses are ridden by him. So if you can give me a like or a subscribe, that'd be absolutely great. We're into 13 minutes 20. So the very best of luck. Charlie Winters, over and out. Cheers, mate.